So let's proceed with our budget briefing from the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development. And I welcome Secretary Aliling to the Senate. Let me direct the committee secretary to acknowledge our resource persons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. For the briefing on the FY 2026 proposed budget of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development and attached agency and corporations, namely the Human Settlements Adjudication Commission or HSAC, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation or NHMFC, National Housing Authority or NHA, and Social Housing Finance Corporation or SHAFC, we would like to acknowledge our resource persons from BHSUD. We have the Secretary Jose Ramon Ping Aliling, together with Senior Undersecretary Henry Yap, Senior Undersecretary Sharon Faith Pakis, Undersecretary Odilon Pasaraba, Undersecretary Ramon Quintin Claudio Aliado, Undersecretary Eduardo Robles Jr., Assistant Secretary Maylene Rivera, and Assistant Secretary Angelito Aguila. For the Human Settlements Adjudication Commission or HSAC, we are still waiting for the Executive Commissioner Maria Victoria Reyes Beltran, together with Commissioner Fidel Esconde, Commissioner Sergio Yap, Commissioner John Christopher Mahamud, and Commissioner Michael Cloribel. For the NHMFC, we have the President Renato Tobias, together with Attorney Joshua Emmanuel Carino, Attorney Victor Alan Hilaw, and Attorney Erica Catherine Aguas. For NHA, we have the General Manager Joe Bentay, and Ms. Lorna Diolola, the Acting Group Manager of the Financial Services Group. For the SHAFC, we have the President and CEO, PCEO Federico Laksa, together with Attorney Junefe Payot, Attorney Leo De Ocampo, VP Florencio Carandang Jr., VP Dante Anabe, VP Elsa Kalimlim, VP Philip Robert Flores, VP Joseph Aisma, VP Felman Gilbang, and VP Josefina Banglagan. For the HDMF or the Pag-ibig Fund, we have the CEO Marilyn Acosta, together with Deputy CEO Alexander Hilario Aguilar. We have also requested the presence of DBM and COA. For DBM, we have Director Benjula Zuniga, Ms. Eliza Jane Marnello, Ms. Cheryl Morilla, and Director Lulu Vispo. For Commission on Audit or COA, we have Mr. Amado Ablao, Mr. Dave Salazar, Mr. Paul Adam Tablante, Ms. Caroline Maranan, Mr. James Carlo Magdarang, Ms. Nora Michelle Ordillos, Mr. Evan Triol, and Ms. Liza De La Cruz. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ComSec. So let's begin with the budget presentation of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, and then we can also present the budgets of the other agencies, the key shelter agencies of DSUD, and then from after that we can have a question and answer portion. So we recognize Secretary Liling for the budget presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will now start our presentation. Yusek Henry Yap will facilitate.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. On behalf of DSUD, we would like to present our budget today, anchored on our mandate to ensure safe, resilient, and inclusive human settlements. This proposal reflects our strategic priorities, sectoral gains, and the evolving needs of our community. In today's presentation, we will cover DSUD and its attached agencies, a brief overview of the housing sector, summary of the appropriations including historical appropriations from 2019 to the present, our performance for 24 and 25, and a report on the earmark revenues and off-budget accounts. We will end with a proposal of our legislative agenda. So the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development is the national government's lead agency for housing and urban development. We are mainly a planning, policy-making, regulatory, program coordination, and performance monitoring agency with primary focus on access to and affordability of basic human needs. Our attached agencies are the National Housing Authority, the Social Housing Finance Corporation, the Home Development Mutual Fund or Pag-ibig, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, and our Human Settlements Adjudication Commission. They basically cover financing, production, and adjudication, forming a holistic shelter ecosystem. Our National Housing Authority is primarily in charge of housing production for our low-income families. We like to thank the Senate for helping us with NHA's new charter that was passed at the middle of this year, Republic Act 12216, which extends its corporate life for another 25 years. NHA's main program may be divided into three: resettlement programs, housing finance program, and other programs. In the case of resettlement, they basically handle the informal settler families affected by the Supreme Court mandamus to clean up the Manila Bay area. They also have resettlement programs for LGU and for former rebels. In terms of housing assistance, they cover government employees, indigenous people's student dormitories, and calamity victims. And for other programs, they cover settlement upgrading as well as a emergency housing assistance program, or EHAP. In the case of the Social Housing Finance Corporation, it is our lead government agency in developing and administering social housing programs, particularly the Community Mortgage Program, or CMP, and the Abot Kaya Pabahay Fund Program. Recently, with the revival of the CMP, they have enhanced the program and expanded to cover more beneficiaries. It actually bridges informal settlements to formal housing with a strong focus on affordability and tenure security. The next agency is the National Home Mortgage Corporation. National Home Mortgage Corporation strengthens housing finance ecosystems by purchasing loan receivables from originators and providing liquidity. It also securitizes those receivables by mobilizing private capital for socialized housing, a key to scaling up the delivery of these projects. Over the years, the NHMFC has developed programs related to loan receivables, including their home program, the Mabuhay program, and their Berde program. In addition, they have developed numerous securitization of asset-backed securities, and every year they're able to release or develop these bonds for additional financing for the requirements. The last attached agency is the Human Settlements Adjudication Commission. It's a quasi-judicial agency that adjudicates, among others, disputes related to human settlements, real estate development, homeowners association, as well as appeals regarding decisions of local zoning bodies. They basically handle cases and try to implement laws, rules, and regulation on zoning, subdivision, condominium development, and intra and inter-HOA disputes. The Pag-ibig, or the Home Development Mutual Fund, has twin mandates. They basically provide savings for its members and also housing finance for its members. Recently, the Pag-ibig developed new programs to expand and make it more easier for their members to be able to access loans, such as the special 3% per annum rate for the first 5 years of their loan under the Pag-ibig 4PH Home Loan Program. In addition, they expanded this subsidy for economic housing between 850,000 and 1.8 million by offering 4.5%. In addition, they are also disposing their acquired assets, and they are also providing home improvement program, a new program that has been developed in the last 2 months. So let me now give you a brief sector review where we are today. The target housing need for the period 2023 to 2028 is 3.396. This estimate is based on the projection using the 2020 Census for Population and Housing. However, if we are to add good units or acceptable units that would probably uh, fall into disrepair during the period, there will be another 3.5 million numbers. So how are we performing as far as this is concerned? We wish to clarify that prior to the assumption of our new secretary, we were developing a 4PH program. Unfortunately, that program had a lot of delays because while it was developed in 2023 and formally launched in developed in 2022 and formally launched in 23, it was only in 2024 that we were able to get funding from the GAA. These issues spanned program design, and because of its vertical structure centric concept, was facing difficulty among buyers, among developers. It is for this reason that we have decided to amend and expand the modality from one to a multiple of choices. The expanded 4PH is more inclusive and responsive, aligned now with the income decile and affordability threshold. In this chart, those colored in green can now be afforded by many of our beneficiaries, while those in red are the type of financing which may have difficulty with our beneficiaries. Our current modalities now include the resumption of awards for presidential proclamations, NHA's resettlement program, the revival of the SHFC CMP, and as well as horizontal low-rise, mid-rise, and high-rise options. These actually now provide a better and bigger ecosystem for beneficiaries to choose from. Over the years, we have been developing projects, and next slide please. This principally shows you how much housing assistance had been provided into the industry. During the presidency of P. Noy, the total direct and indirect provision amounted to about 700,000. In the last administration, this figure increased to about 800,000. To date, we have already reached 399,000, and we should be able to accomplish 1.133 million by the end of this current administration. In the regular programs of the SUD, we cover the registration of homeowners association, the provision and the approval of the land use plans, and the issuance of certificate of registrations and license to sell. As of June 2025, we have already registered a total of over 2,500 neighborhoods, 23,800 homeowners associations, 226 federations, and 36 confederations. In the case of land use plans, the approved land use plans total 46 for the period up to June 2025, and approved PDP-FP of 5. PDP-FP refers to the provincial plans. In terms of license to sell, residential license to sell, total 218 as of the middle of the year, and for non-residential, 38. We would like to thank the Senate for providing us funding for Integrated Disaster Shelter Assistance Program. Last year, our first year, we were given 200,000, and that amount have actually been consumed. 200 million, sorry. As of this year, we were given 550, of which 200 has been spent. 200 million has been spent, and 300 million were additionally released to us last week. This fund is used to cover augmentation to the local governments who will provide support to the houses damaged by natural calamities and disasters such as typhoons, floods, earthquakes, and fires. To date, we are going to eventually request additional funding given the amount of families that are affected. The next slide shows you the agency's performance in terms of production and finance on a year-to-year for the first semester. In the case of direct housing provision, last year, 2024, the first quarter totaled 6,988, and as compared to the 22,755 for this year. In the case of indirect housing provision, last year's first semester totaled 39,536 vis-a-vis the 37,947 for this year. We would like to share also with you the record of our HSAC in terms of adjudication. They have generally tried to come close with their targets in terms of deciding within 90 days or in case of appealed. For those that with the NA, there were no actual Prexy indicators or targets set for that year. Thus, there were no numbers indicated. We would like to highlight that the appropriation for the sector has actually been quite low for the past 10 years. It will be noted that during this period, the average budget allocated for the housing sector was only 0.2%. And if we were to exclude those given because of Typhoon Yolanda and the Marawi rehab initiatives, that number will actually go down to 0.11. During the period of 2017 to 2022, we got an average of 7.2 billion. And then during the 2023 to 25 or current administration, we were down to only 5.7 billion. This slide shows you the amount of funds that are being allocated to the housing sector. In 2019, prior to the enactment of Republic Act 11-201, the DSUD was preceded by HUDCC and HSAC was preceded by HLURB, those shown in red. So over the years, the budget of the five agencies have been slowly going up. And today, the total is 6.23 billion. The next slide shows you on a year-to-year allocation, obligation, and disbursement. For SHAPSI, we're still waiting for the NCA issuance for their amount or their requirement for this year. In comparison to the 5.563 that is proposed for next year, the actual request made by the housing sector was 229 billion. So we were only allocated 5.563, which is even lower than the 6.5 that we were given this year. So with the indulgence of the committee, we would like the committee's support to the following requests. Number one, to reconsider increasing NSA's budget to 10 billion from the 2.2 that was approved in the NEP, and for SHAPSI to be provided 500 million from the 166 million that was approved by the NEP. We're also requesting an increase in our Integrated Disaster Shelter Assistance Program to 4 billion. To date, we have already targeted or are already in the request stage of about 2.6 billion. And that number excludes the 550 that had been provided. And we still have 3 months to go, and we expect that there might be more demand for IDSAP because of the typhoons and the earthquakes that has beset the country. However, we would encourage the Senate, we would request the Senate if we can consolidate the IDSAP funds of the SUD into NHA. This is to allow us to transition to a single shelter emergency assistance programs. This will facilitate the distribution because of NHA's extensive network across the country. In addition, we would like to request the Senate's assistance for a quick response fund for NHA in the amount of 500 million. And this is to cover all incidentals related to emergencies such as what we're encountering now in Cebu because of the earthquake and in Davao. As far as utilization, we can be seen from this slide that there has been general improvements or close to the disbursements for both for the obligation and disbursements for the period January to June 2024 and 2025. Before we end, we'd like to share with you our earmark revenues and our off-books budget. NHA and HAC do not have figures because they use a different accounting system. Thus, we could only show you what is in DSUD, in SHAFC, and in NHMFC and HDMF. However, we would like to clarify that the HDMF is a members fund and thus this cannot be incorporated into the general budget of the other agencies. In ending, we would like to share with you our requested legislative agenda. We hope that the Senate can consider various Senate bills related to on-site in-city government resettlement programs, rental housing subsidy programs, housing development digital connectivity, amendments to the Balanced Housing Development Program, the Socialized and Low-Cost Housing Loan Restructuring Program, the Sustainable Cities and Communities Act, the strengthening of our key shelter agencies, specifically National Home, next slide, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation and the Social Housing Finance Corporation, the Enhanced National Shelter Program Bill, and the Philippine Urban Park System. On this note, we appreciate the committee's continued support in advancing the dignified housing and sustainable communities, and we look forward to working closely with all stakeholders for a safe, resilient, and inclusive housing sector. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. How about the other agencies, the key shelter agencies? Do they have their own presentation or lahat nandito na?
They've already been incorporated.
Here in your budget
Yes, Mr. Chair, we've already included
budget presentation, no? Okay. All right. Sige. Any more presentation or we can proceed to the question and answer?
Mr. Chair, we can proceed with the question. and
Okay,
answer.
sige. I'll start off with some basics first, like the requirement for shelter in our country. And you presented earlier, slide 9, that there are about 3.3 million 3.3 million homes required. Is that the right number?
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
3.398440.
That's the number of homes required, or the requirement for housing for the next 2 years, no, until 2028. Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It includes the backlog from December 2022 plus those that will be required from 2023 to 2028.
Okay. And because in our figure, it's ang aming backlog is 6.9 million.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The 6.9 is actually the total of the 3.398 and the 3.546.
Okay.
The reason why we have separated 3.5 is because they are actually projections of possible structures that may be damaged over the period. So
Okay.
there is no reality that they will happen. So when we were preparing this, the Philippine Statistics Agency highlighted to us that they should be separated Because these are just allowance for possible inventory
The
loss.
allowance is based on historical numbers. How did you project
Yes,
allowance? Because it's very difficult, diba? Minsan may bagyo, minsan walang bagyo.
Yes, so
like
they've
earthquake,
actually
it's
considered this a over, how do you call it? It's big because they don't know the impacts of typhoons over periods of time. No? Plus, there were also before like the one in Marawi, so there could be a unique incidences that could increase the number.
So the number that we should be looking at is 3.3.
3.398.
Okay, by 2028.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and the number of in production natin, how much are we producing a year?
Yes, our target for until 2028 is 1.133. That covers both production, indirect and indirect.
But to date, how much are we producing?
We are already at 399,000, Mr. Chair.
399,000. So if you look at this figure, for example, in 2025, the requirement is 196,000, tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And then we are on the average producing 399.
The 319 is already the total from the current administration up to.
Okay, but a year, how much are we producing?
So right now, so this would be about 100, approximately 100 a year. Just over 100,000 a year.
100,000 a year production.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So may balance tayo ng almost 100, in other words. Tama?
That's
No?
correct.
Yes,
It's
Mr.
almost
Chair.
100. Itong 196 in 2025 includes the backlog.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The backlog are the first two lines, 1A and 1B.
Okay.
And then in 1C, these are newly formed families.
Newly formed, yung growth yan, no? Yung
Yes.
growth, oo.
Mr. Chair, if we may just share, we were also advised by PSA to clarify that the needs do not necessarily mean a demand. So if, for example, a family already has a married child and he stays with the family, then there is already that one extra need.
Yes.
Or
oo.
if the parents opt to stay with the child, then that is still an extra need. So it doesn't mean that there is a demand, but for purpose of the way UN computes that is already a need.
Okay. So, itong 1A for 2025, 7,856. Ito yung mga ISF.
Not necessary ISF lang,
Kasi
iba-iba po siya.
unacceptable housing units eh.
Yes.
So, I would assume ISF
The
yan.
bulk would be ISF pero hindi lang po kasi nung gumawa yung PSA tsaka PSRTI, they cover different areas. So hindi lang po, let's say in areas where it is agricultural area pero hindi naman dapat merong mga bahay
Yes,
doon.
oo.
So nagkakaroon ng mga ganun.
Oo.
But generally ISF is the bigger part of it.
7,856 families lang?
These are families po, families.
Ganun lang kakonti ang ISF sa buong Pilipinas?
No, right now that number is the backlog here is 2.2. Ang ginagawa po ng ang PSA, pag meron silang ISF, separate po yung ISF, tapos separate yung condition. Let's say they're already awarded proclamations, iba po yun. Kasi yung iba may lupa na.
Yes, pero ano lang, I would assume cumulative to, di ba, in 2025.
Yes po. So each number, let's say 2.2 plus 384 plus 815, yun po yung cumulative. Kaya umaabot ng 6.9. But that 6.9 is actually already combination of those that are not in good condition tsaka those that are allowance for inventory losses.
Gusto ko lang hindi, ano pala, no? umpisahan natin dito sa accumulated. So accumulated, 1A lang I just want to focus first
Yes,
on the
1A.
informal settlers. And we will assume yung 1A, majority of that informal settlers kasi households in / likely to occupy unacceptable housing units,
Apa.
diba? Informal settlers yun eh.
Yes.
So ang backlog natin is 1 million, diba?
Yes.
Then you add it until 2025 another 21,000, diba?
Yes.
So
Yes, Mr.
the lumalabas more or less mga 1.3 million. Tama? So
Yes.
today 1.3 million ang ISF natin in 1A. Tama?
No, Mr. Chair. Bali, sa 2022, 1 million. And then every year may 7,000
Additional,
po.
diba? So 7 times yung until 2025,
So mga
Okay.
50,000 po ang nadagdag approximately.
50,000.
Opo.
So 1 million plus 50,000.
Opo.
Tama ba?
20,
Hindi yata eh.
Sorry, it's 23,000.
23,000, tama. 23,000. Oh, so lumalabas nga, isarado na natin, 1.3 by 2025. Diba? 1.3 million. To date, meron tayong mga kababayan na nasa unacceptable housing units na 1.3 million. Tama? Yan ang ating to date, to date. Yan ang
It's
ating
1,071,000.
1 million
1,048,000 plus 23,000.
1 million
71,000.
1.01
Yeah,
1.07. Yan ang ating backlog, no, for to date for 2025. And to date we have only produced 100,000 to 300,000, di ba?
399, yes.
399. Sabihin na natin 400 para madaling i-compute. For 100,000 a year, so 300,000 ang naproduce natin. So ang backlog pa natin sa ISF lang is 700. Tama?
That's correct, Mr.
Correct.
Chair.
So 700 pa ang kulang natin. Only for ISF. Wala pang growth to. Only for ISF. Okay. So malaki pa yung ating pupunuan. So in order to wipe out the backlog for ISF, we need to produce at least mga mga 200,000 230, mga 240, sabihin na natin, 240 a year, no, to wipe it out. No, yun ang ating target. Only for ISF yan sinasabi ko lang ISF kasi yan yung nakikita natin ngayon eh. But if you include of course yung growth, kasi every year merong bagong pamilya, may mga kinakasal, we're adding close to about mga 108, on the average 190,000, no? More or less.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's the 1C portion.
That's the 1C portion. Okay. So pag in-add natin yung 1C portion to date, that's mga 200, lalabas mga 1.6, mga 600, mga 1.6 more or less. Diba? 1.6 million ang kailangan natin to date 2025. But we're only producing 100,000 a year. So that's we produce 300,000, so mga 1.3 ang backlog natin. Laki pa,
That's
Secretary.
correct.
Laki pa. Okay. So I just want to settle the magnitude first. So to date 1.3 ang ating backlog to include growth. And that's why you requested, your original proposal was 221 billion.
Tama.
Tama?
That's correct. That's correct.
2 to 1 billion. No? 2 to 1 billion. And I would assume the 2 to 1 billion is really, tama?
229 billion.
229.1.
The proposed budget, Mr. Chair, for 2026 is 229.1.
229 sa notes ko is siguro may konting konting discrepancy, but dito sa akin is 221 eh.
Yeah.
Ano lang,
More or less,
minus
yeah.
more or less nandiyan tayo. So I guess that 221 is meant to address that 1.3 billion backlog today.
That's
to
correct,
date.
Mr. Chair.
Oo. So ano ang layo no, Secretary, from 221 or 221 229 na bigay is 5.5.
Mr. Chair, if you will note, the 229, 197 of the 229, we were proposing for NHA, meaning this is for direct production. Kaya makikita natin, we were really pushing for a higher budget for production to address the backlog.
This is itong 197.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
197. Okay. And this includes, nakasulat dito sa briefer namin, 404 new projects, including 315 projects targeting 49,000 units. Tama?
NHA GM is here.
Oo. Yung ba yung target is to produce 50,000 units?
Mr. Chair, the 197 units was our proposed. Basically, these projects came from the
197 billion.
Yeah, the
197 billion worth of projects. Basically, these projects came from the Regional Development Council and were requests from the multiple mga LGUs po.
Okay. So itong 197 galing to sa RDC.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Mas maganda yun. At least bottom up yun eh.
Yes.
Okay. And then how many units can this 197 produce?
155,000.
155,000. Okay. But this is out of purely subsidy, no? Ano siya? Anong klaseng, itong 155, anong modality siya? Is it going to be, kasi maraming modality ang
NHA
housing
has,
eh. Oo.
will explain, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, this is multiple, but the one to be funded by the GAA is almost 32 billion, which is housing for informal settlers for those living along danger areas. Meron din po yung para sa SC Mandamus and yung mga affected by infra projects. We have IP housing rin po and housing for former rebels.
Ito yung 197 billion.
Yes, which is part of it is the 32 billion and majority of this po is the 155 billion. Ito naman po yung mga request ng mga different LGU which is part of the 4PH program.
Okay, okay. We'll go to the 4PH later on. Pero ang nabigay lang sa inyo is 2.2 eh.
That's correct.
2.2 billion. So ang layo from 197 to 2.2.
Basically, Mr. Chair, if I may add, yung 32 billion po was our request which is part of our Tier 1 which is our own ongoing projects. And the 155 billion is the request from the LGUs, from the RDC.
The request from the LGUs, I would assume, forms part of that yung kinukompute natin kanina, 1.3 million backlog. Yung source nito 1.3 million na backlog to date 2025. Anong source ng data niya?
The data was based on the 2020 census population and housing.
Okay.
And then projected from 2020 to 2022, which is the cutoff
Okay.
date.
But is there a way na nabangga to with the request ng LGU? Is there
We did not do that kasi the PSA data are based on census and then these are requests from the regions.
kasi mga request ng LGU iba-iba yan. Minsan may pang empleyado nila, minsan merong pang iba-iba no? May mga informal settlers for sure, 100% ako. Pero meron ring mga ibang LGU, they want to provide housing for their employees, yung iba for the, I think mayroon pang, if I'm not mistaken, for middle low income, mga ganyan. So iba-iba siya. Oo. Okay. All right. We'll talk about yung 4PH housing. I think this is the flagship project of DSUD. And kanina narinig ko sa presentation that there were problems with the 4PH. So ano yung mga problema, and then how is this corrected with this new budget? I would assume na correct yan with this new budget, no?
That's correct.
Because
Mr. Chair.
kakapasok nilang secretary. So this is
Except
your
for
full year
the-
budget, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair. But again, NHA now is what we did in the 4PH before. We only had one modality, which is vertical. So basically, we expanded the scope of the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program, or 4PH. This is the flagship project of the national government. Too many modalities. So instead of just having one modality, we included horizontal, rental, then we resumed the presidential proclamation and the community mortgage program. So lahat po ito, including the production of NHA, is now part of what we call the expanded 4PH. So we resolved in adding modalities, we resolved the affordability problem. Kasi as we all know, the most expensive modality is vertical or condominium. So nung binuksan natin yung ibang modalities, this slide will show us na yung income deciles 1 to 10, meron ng available na housing program. So yun yung basic in-address natin sa expanded 4PH. So, with this po, we also improved the financing program through Pag-ibig. So, ina-address natin are two basic things, no? The supply side and the demand side. So, sa demand side muna, let me explain, Mr. Chair. What we did, nag-introduce ang Pag-ibig ng low-interest programs for the 4PH. So, 3% lang yan instead of the 6.25%. So, makikita natin dito, more or less na-address natin yung problema sa affordability. Then on the supply side, ang 4PH kasi, combination to ng private sector and government production. So yung private sector, sila yung magpuproduce ng vertical and horizontal. These are the condominium and the house and lot or row houses, no? So ang in-address natin sa supply side is pinagaan natin yung we streamline the process for them to get permits and clearances. So then second, ang malaking concern nila is the price ceiling of the socialized housing, which is due for increase this October. We have communicated already with the DepDev regarding this, no? Kasi jointly to, we have to release the joint memorandum circular signed by DSUD and DepDev to increase the price housing ceiling for socialized housing. Ngayon, once na ma-address natin to, we expect private sectors to produce more inventory. On the demand side, as of today, when we open since we opened the online registration of Pag-ibig, ang registered na natin is around 30,000. But ang inventory natin is only about 18,000. So makikita natin na meron demand, ang kulang natin is inventory, which the private sector developers we expect them to produce. Now, yung mga lower income decile natin, pumasok na po yung community mortgage program. So we are ready now to award at least 7,000 titles, no, from October to February. And then after resuming also the presidential proclamation, ready na rin tayo to award 5,000 titles starting October to February. So makikita po natin, substantial po yung increase ng number ng 4PH. as of May, ang actual takeout ng 4PH was only around 1,000 units. Ngayon po, with all the modalities, ang available na po natin is around 30,000. So it's still low, but makikita natin, it started na magkaroon ng traction. No? Yung 4PH, nagtatraction na sa ground. And through the programs of NHA, SHFC, NHMFC, and Pag-ibig, yung awareness din ng 4PH tumataas na. We receive a lot of inquiries and questions. No? In fact, yung housing summit sa Wednesday, no, October 23, nag-online registration kami. In just a few days, ang nag-register was 10,000 na ang gusto mag-participate dun sa housing summit. So the demand is there. So ang kailangan lang namin is to increase the appetite of the private sectors to participate, which already they committed around 250,000. No? Yung mga private developers, nag-commit na sila ng 250,000. They will produce until 2028. Now, ang kailangan natin tulong sa government side is yung government production. Ito ngayon yung NHA and SHFC through their community mortgage program. So, lahat po ng makukuha nating pondo from the national government, dito po papasok sa production ng NHA and SHFC through their community mortgage program. So, ito po ngayon ang 4PH. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Secretary. So, can we go back to doon sa yung may green and red? So, ito yung sinasabi nyo kaninang na-cover lahat ng income deciles.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Before,
Yung last three po, yung low-rise building hanggang high-rise building lang yung modality natin.
yes, yun yung naririnig ko before kasi na the program, well-intentioned yung programa, the program is also going to address partly the housing backlog or the shelter backlog. Pero ang tin-target lang niya yung higher income deciles, no? So yun yung design before.
Dito po, makikita natin sa slide nito, yung single modality which is vertical, ang kaya lang ng ano niyan is 6 income decile 6 pataas. So ang catered segment niya then was 5 and below, which we addressed by adding the other modalities. Horizontal, rental, community mortgage, NHA programs, and the presidential proclamation.
Dati low-rise building, di ba? Pasok siya sa low-rise building, yung before, yung dating design.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So
Low
start,
rise.
pag low-rise siya, based on this matrix, it starts at income decile 6.
Yes, Mr.
So
Chair.
dapat ang income mo is 25,000 a month.
Yes.
No? And then you expanded it. Pinasok nyo na yung presidential proclamation, resettlement, community mortgage program, rental housing, as well as horizontal housing.
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
So I understand that the 4PH, so sinama nyo na itong mga ibang modality or ibang types of housing projects. But the 4PH is really subsidizing the interest,
Interest, 2% interest.
2% interest. So, for example, in a project like the NHA resettlement, diba? So, for example lang.
Mr. Chair, the subsidy is only for those units to be produced by the private sector.
Okay.
Horizontal modality and vertical modality.
Horizontal modality and vertical modality. Yung rental housing, community mortgage program, wala siyang interest.
Wala po siyang interest subsidy.
Kasi maliit lang yung binabayaran niya eh. Diba? May binabayaran pa rin siya, di ba?
Meron pa rin po. For example po, yung rental housing, ang model na ginagamit natin is the Disciplina Village. So we're trying to replicate that through NHA.
Pero wala na siyang subsidy.
Wala na po.
Kasi subsidized na yan.
Subsidy.
Masyado
Mababa na
mababa.
yan
200, 300 pesos. Itong buti nga ito,
800.
tumaas eh. Sa amin, 300 pa yata eh.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Hirap
Pero hindi na natin kaya ngayon yung 300.
Oh,
Hindi na kaya.
Yeah, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with 300. In fact, sinasabi ko nga sa LGU, dapat taasan na yun eh. Dahil the 300, time ko pa yun. So,
The CMP, Mr. Chair, is around 600 pesos on the average per month.
okay. And that's already a subsidized amount eh.
Yes.
Correct. So the interest portion will only come sa horizontal housing and above.
Yes, everything that's produced by the private sector.
Okay. So in other words, yung 4PH for the government produce, walang nangyari. Dati nang ganun siya, di ba?
Dati po suspended. It was suspended for the first 3 years, yung community mortgage and presidential proclamation. Pero we tried to enhance.
Suspended in terms of production?
In terms of implementation, it was suspended by the previous administration.
Okay. So walang pinuproduce kahit isa?
Hindi pinroses yung mga CMP na nakalinya sana.
Okay. And is there any reason for that?
The intention then was of the former secretary was to really clear areas, no? I-clear niya yung areas ng ISF, then build vertical structures. But it did not materialize. So the intention was urban renewal talaga during that time.
Pero saan mo dadalhin yung mga nakatira sa
Yun
ISF?
ang naging problema, one is yung land and affordability. Kasi hindi naman po libre. Magbabayad sila nitong, sabi nga natin, ang kaya lang was income decile 6 and above. So hindi nag-match yung affordability and profitability ng mga developers. So it did not fly.
Nakita ko kasi dito sa budget nyo, meron kayong 700 million for 4PH.
That's for interest subsidy.
That's for interest,
not
no?
for production.
Okay. No, I'm trying to, kasi itong mga, yung sa mga lower income, existing na yan dati.
We just tried to, yes, that's correct.
Pinasok,
Mr. Chair.
rinibrand lang into 4PH.
No, we improve it. For example, community mortgage program, we are going to the second process or renewal. Unlike before, natatapos siya sa pag-award ng ownership lang titulo. Pero ngayon, we're going beyond that. Ini-improve natin yung mga drainage system. We call that CMP2. That's the difference. Yung presidential proclamation and yun, as is yun. We just resumed it. Then we're trying also to study how to implement what we call the CMP2 program of SHFC dito sa mga presidential proclamations. Now, we want to improve the utilities, yung mga security nila, mga CCTV camera.
And that's to the account of government.
Yes.
Gobyerno nagagawa nun. Oh. Is that part of their
That's part of
amortization?
the program. That's part of their amortization. I-built in natin yung renewal, yung improvement ng area nila through the SHFC program. Community loan po ito, pero very low naman yung bayad, around 600 pesos per month on the average lang po.
Okay. Alright. So itong 700 will really go to the privately developed
This will subsidize
units.
po yung mga buyers na bibili from private developers.
Okay. Now the reason why I'm also asking yung pie nung 1.3 million na requirement natin for 2020 for this year 2025. Gusto ko sana doon na nakita natin kung ano yung 1C, 'di ba? Ano yung 1A and 1B. So, pag titignan natin yung 1A, that's lumalabas siya parang 3.3 million requirement. 1.07 ang requirement niya. Diba? Pero ang 4PH is targeting the 1C, which is the 300,000. No? So ang point I'm trying to make is yung 700 hindi siya pumupunta doon sa ISF but pumupunta siya doon sa non-ISF.
Mr. Chair, yung mga ISF kasi may mga ISF na kaya bumili ng horizontal. Malaking portion din po ng ISF natin kaya nilang bumili ng horizontal. Kasi if you will note, pagka pumasyal tayo sa mga ISF areas, maraming pong working class din na dyan nag-uupa. Diyan sila nakatira. Lalo na yung mga nagtatrabaho sa government agencies. Kasama po sila dun sa nabibigyan ng interest subsidy kasi interesado rin sila or kaya rin nila. Below income decile 6 sila eh. May mga nakatira na po.
Can we go back doon? Can we go back doon sa Doon sa green and ano, yan. So for example, pero dito kasi red na siya eh. Pag let's say your ISF ka, tapos you're earning
Mr. Chair, may
11,000, 15,000 a month, di ka na makakabili ng horizontal or low rise eh.
Tama po 'yan, Mr. Chair. Pero may mga nasa ISF areas po na nasa income decile 3 to 6 in reality pagka nagpunta po tayo ron. Yung mga hindi talaga kaya doon, talagang ang available programs lang natin are the first 4.
Okay. And the first 4 is carried by the key housing.
Yes,
Yeah, the
NHA
KSA.
and SHFC.
Oo, hindi na na ano ko kasi ako eh, part siya ng 4PH, pero yung 700, hindi siya pupunta doon sa first 4.
That's correct. That's
Correct. So it's really just part of a branding, but it's the funding will not go to the first 4. That's why I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to understand kasi saan pupunta itong
Yung government
700.
budget po, yung 700 will be for yung private sector talaga.
Okay.
Yung GA na for production, that will, or government produced houses, doon po pupunta doon talaga yung para sa mahihirap.
Oo, oo. And based on your I'm sure hindi kasya no dahil requirement yung nga 200 billion eh. No, I'm sure hindi kasya but ang tatanungin ko, itong mga key shelter agencies, meron naman silang pondo to address the first 4 programs.
Ang ginagamit po natin, although hindi ganun kalaki, is the existing escrow fund na ito yung contribution ng mga developers sa socialized housing. Like ito pong first 5 sites natin ng CMP through SHFC, ang nagpondo po dito is the escrow fund of the department. And then for the initial rental housing projects na yun nga, we're trying to replicate the Disciplina Village through NHA. This will also come from the escrow fund. Pero as I said, pag naubos po itong escrow fund namin, yung first 4, hindi na namin matutuloy.
Yung escrow fund comes from anong source ng
Ito po yung contribution ng private developers. Every time na, is this the balance housing
Oo. Yeah,
contribution?
okay.
Accumulated po ito ng ilang years eh. So,
And that's a fund siya. Pera siya.
escrow on escrow accounts siya ng
Okay.
developers.
Okay. And then escrow in the name of
Developers po. Then we
how do you produce the homes, the shelters?
we download Yusek Faith, can you explain the process of
So may escrow siya, sino gagamit ng escrow para gumawa ng bahay?
For example po, for the 5 CMP projects that will benefit 925 beneficiaries na funded ng escrow, ang gagawin po namin doon, i-release namin yung escrow fund nila and then i-issue po namin siya sa SHAFC so that SHAFC can buy the land of those ISF occupying po yung land na bibilihin nila.
Okay, but sino magpo-produce nung mga bahay?
Since sa SHAFC po, ito po yung sinasabi ni Sec. Aliling na tatawid siya ng CMP2 since the CMP1 is land acquisition, CMP2 would be upgrading of their houses na andon na po. So on-site po ito, hindi po namin gagalawin yung bahay nila. But we are really trying to work with SHAFC to upgrade the individual houses of the beneficiaries that are living in that land area that we are funding through escrow.
So using that escrow fund?
Yes.
Okay. Di ba yung escrow fund na yun when a developer develops, dapat meron siyang socialized housing component?
That's it po. The escrow fund is pursuant to originally RA 7279, which is the UDHA law, and was amended by RA 10884, the Balanced Housing Program Development Program. So ito po yung mga compliance nila. Instead of directly producing socialized housing in compliance with the Balanced Housing Program of the government, they have the option to avail of the escrow fund. So pag po ganon, it is already the discretion of the department where
Kung saan
to use
ilalagay.
it or to allocate such funds.
And they can put that in the first 4 programs?
Yes, Mr. Senator.
Okay, all right. Okay. yung kilo ko. Pasmado kasing kamay ko. Namin, Secretary, that, but this is before you pa, no? Itong 4PH program, in 2024, na allocation ng 750 million, but the disbursement rate is only 5%. And then in 2025, this year, may 683 million siya, the disbursement rate is only 0%, no? Walang nagamit.
Mr. Chair, kasi because the production was very low during 2025 and ngayon pala nagsisimula natin na inallow yung ibang modalities. Yes. In fact, 2024 ang na-take out lang was I think 24 units. So another 1,000 itong 2025.
Ba't ganun? Diba may demand tayo of merong growth? Kasi middle class to. So may growth tayo ng 180,000.
The demand was not for vertical. Masyadong mahal yung vertical for the
Even
demand.
yung 180,000, hindi niya kayang yung vertical.
1.8 po yun.
Diba doon sa 1C, meron tayong 180,000 na non-ISF yun, diba? Doon sa growth natin. Kasi I have to correlate it to the demand eh. No? So even 180,000 in demand, ang bumili lang for
Yung
24 units.
We're balancing. It's not only the demand eh. Yung profitability. Since private sector, yung production kasi gusto nila yung may certain profit sila na kinukuha. So hindi nag-match yung demand saka yung profitability na gusto ng private sector. Kaya nga inaantay nila ngayon is the price ceiling increase that will increase the cost of socialized housing para mag-produce yung mga private developers.
Okay. And then ito kasi is meant to address it's meant to subsidize the interest rates, di ba? Yung mga private developers ba, are they, when they build, meron silang subsidy on the interest rates, but meron ba silang guarantee on the demand kung may bibili? O at their own risk na yun?
Ang ginawa po natin through Pag-ibig, meron na po tayong survey. Itong sabi ko nga kanina, 30,000 yung nagpalista. Nandun na yung data kung saan nila gustong bumili, anong klaseng modality, horizontal, vertical. So binigay na natin yung parang indirectly market study to these developers. Minamatch ngayon nila ng production. So mostly po ang demand natin is horizontal, lumabas dun sa data
Dito
natin.
sa bago.
Sa
Pero
bago.
sa dati, kung ako private, magpapatayo ako, anong guarantee ko na mabibili yung aking
Yun
supply?
nga po ang naging problema, Mr. Chair, nung dati. Tayo muna, tapos titingnan ko may demand. So, yung initially yung mga nagtayo, nahirapan. So,
Pero
hindi
at your
tuloy.
own risk na yung pagtatayo.
Yun ang nangyari during the initial 4PH. Kaya hindi na tumuloy yung iba. For example, ang master plan ng isang developer for one project, 10. Nung tinayo niya yung una, nakita niya nahirapan siya magbenta, hindi niya na tinuloy. Kaya hindi na umusad ng mabilis yung 4PH. Pero in this case po, in-address na natin dahil yung demand na bigay na natin yung data kung anong klaseng modality yung may demand. And then ang horizontal din kasi is may subsidy. So doon po sa slide na may green and red, makikita po natin mababa yung horizontal. Hanggang income decile 3, kaya na yung horizontal with subsidy.
Alright, alright. So yun yung bago, yung horizontal ang in-introduce nyo. Kasi
Yes.
based on your study, yun
Yes.
ang gusto ng tao.
Nandun po yung demand. Saka yun
Okay.
yung kaya nila.
Alright. Is that in Metro Manila? In
It's
meron pa bang-
nearby, nasa peripherals yan ng Metro Manila. Sa highly urbanized area talaga, we're pushing for vertical, although masyado nung mahal yung lupa. So rental talaga ang nakikita nating transitory stage ng mga bibili.
Okay. Alright. So itong kaninang pinakita namin na utilization, with this new introduction, that this will improve.
Yes, definitely.
Pero ang improvement naman dito will be the horizontal eh. Yung vertical
Horizontal.
ganun pa rin, di ba?
Yung mga vertical po, tinatapos na lang yung ongoing. Meron tayong ongoing na around 30,000 units. Yan po yung mga actual na building na tumatayo na pag natapos, it will generate 30,000 units.
But itong 30,000 units are not hindi ito yung gusto ng tao eh.
Hindi. Meron namang limited yung market niya. Masyadong mahal siya para dun sa target market.
But wala naman tayong risk doon, no? Government will not
Wala pa.
guarantee, let's say, the demand of those housing units.
Wala po, wala
Okay.
po. Private sector ang may risk doon. Pero we're trying to help them, of course, to market these projects para wag naman maipit.
Okay. So the innovation for the 700, kasi maglalagay tayo ulit 700 eh, this coming 2026. The innovation for that 700 is the horizontal.
That's correct, Sir Chair.
And based on your analysis, the horizontal will be more in demand. Kasi ang punto natin, Secretary, ayaw natin, pag-usap natin next year, ganito ulit, 5%, 0%.
Ganito po yun. Yung 2025 kasi magagamit sa 2026 eh. So yun, mako-consume yun. Ang hindi mako-consume, to be honest with you, is yung bago nating ilalagay sa 2026 na magro-roll siya sa 2027.
Oo.
Hindi talaga mauubos yung 700 for the additional for the 2026. Pero yung from the 2025 budget, mako-consume po yun
I
based sa
would assume
projection.
itong 600, sabihin na natin, itong 683 will be a continuing appropriation.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so in 2026 meron kayong more or less mga 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion.
That's correct.
Yeah. Pero Secretary, from a cash management and budget management point of view, hindi rin efficient na maglalagay tayo 700 tapos hindi magagamit.
Ang ano lang namin
Mas
is,
maganda, andyan na yung 1.4, gamitin nyo na lahat.
depende kasi yun sa Mr. Chair, sa inventory eh. Kung ang problema natin is the inventory eh. So honestly, yung 2026 na ipapasok, hindi yan mako-consume. Ang mako-consume is the 2025 budget.
Okay, well, that's yan ang isang dapat natin pag-isipan kasi kami naman, we want to make sure that ilalagay natin mako-consume yan, or else sayang yung pondo. There's so many departments naghihingi sa amin ng pondo, no? So yan ang kailangan natin ma-assure na whatever we put 2026, granted andyan na yung 2025, di na nagamit, di nyo naman kasalanan yan, I'm just saying na nandyan na siya, maro-roll over siya, continuing appropriation for 2026, but we're putting another 700.
Yung another 700 o hindi, to be honest with you, malamang hindi yan ma-consume. Actually, we're trying...
Thank you for your honesty at
Yeah.
least. Kasi may mga, iba, kahit hindi magamit, hingi ng hingi. Kaya we have to pull from other departments, ilalagay namin dito. Diba? Hindi ko naman sinasabi tatanggalin. I'm just saying lang na from a efficiency point of view,
Ang inaalala lang namin na pag tinanggal, baka hindi mabigyan sa 2027. Kasi doon namin, ang forecast namin sa 2027, inventories will come in eh.
i-review niya lang, Secretary, kung kakayanin yung, again, kung makakaya, best case scenario, magamit yung 2026, you talk to your producers, the private sector, Kung kakayanin lang, pag hindi, then we appreciate the honesty. Yeah.
We'll do that, Mr. Chair.
Based on your study ba, Secretary, yung buyers ba is just interested on the interest subsidy, or is there a barrier to entry is the cost of the unit?
Mr. Chair,
The overall cost of the unit. Based on your study, kung sinubsidize, kasi interest subsidy to, which a model that sounds sound, but yun lang ba ang tinitignan ng buyer based on your
well, yung
research?
unit assist, kung wala, actually yung subsidy natin is only, if you look at it, kasi ang normal rate ng pag-ibig is 6.25. So, ang 3% nila na programa, meron na yung more or less 3% subsidy na naka-built in. Then plus another 2% subsidy from through GAA. So, ang subsidy niyan is nasa 5% if you look at it. So, without the subsidy, mahal pa talaga para sa kanila. Pero pag in-infuse na natin yung 3% pag-ibig subsidy and the 2% from the GAA, yung affordability issue na-resolve na natin. Kaya kanina, nakita natin yung horizontal, yung third income decile, kaya na nila yung horizontal modality.
Bayaran lang effectively ng mga buyers 1%
1%
lang.
interest.
Okay. Yung 2% ba hindi na kaya i-absorb ng pag-ibig?
Hindi, yung 3%
Nandiyan ba siya?
nahirapan
Dito
na
ba
po.
pag-ibig?
Nandiyan po.
Baka yun na lang mag-absorb niyan. Para makatipid kami ng 1.7 billion, ilagay namin sa ibang again, trabaho ko lang to, Secretary, kasi ang
Mr.
daming pumupunta dito sa amin.
Mr. Chair, if I may explain, nung bago po natin binuksan yung 3% subsidy program, ang GAA na subsidy was 5%. Kasi 6%, 5% subsidy, 1% na lang ang natitira. So ngayon, ang baseline natin 3%. So nakatipid na po tayo ng 3%, no? Instead na 5, 2 na lang ang sinasubsidize through GAA.
Yung itong 2% is the cost of 700 million, di ba? Di ba kaya maabsorba ng pag-ibig yung 700 million? Magkano ba assets?
Nag-ambag na kasi, Mr. Chair, ng 3% yung pag-ibig. Baka maapektuhan kasi yung ibang programa ng pag-ibig. These are funds coming from the contributions kasi.
I understand. I'm just trying to find ways to fund the other requests.
I also tried to convince them to give more subsidy talagang. Yan lang.
Yan na, sagad na yan.
Hindi na ako pinagbigyan eh.
Sagad na yan. Sige.
And meron pa rin silang additional program, 4.5% for 1.8 million na horizontal. Kasi may demand din to yung mga OFWs. Ito yung hinahanap nilang range 1.8 million na horizontal. These are economic housing. So meron din subsidy ang pag-ibig doon, 1.5%.
Nandiyan ba yung ano? Ito nga yung... Yeah, kasi alam ko pag-ibig is one of the more productive GOCCs. GOCCs ang ano, no? Wala kayong request for subsidy. Tama? Kami na lang magre-request sa inyo ng subsidy.
Nag-vote.
Sige pa, ma'am. Sige. Ito, 1 trillion pala yung ano nyo eh. 1 trillion ang, how do you, ano? Yan. Yeah. It's a very liquid, ano, but it's owned by the members, no? It's
Yes
owned by
po,
the
Mr.
members.
Chair.
Yeah, alright. Sige, I'm just, baka pwede nyo lang i-consider para makatipid kami ng 700 a year. I can put it somewhere else kung kaya naman. But I'll leave that to the departments to negotiate with one another. Okay. Sige. So hopefully itong 4PH will have, with this revive or reform 4PH, we'll see a better take up next year. And I understand that ngayon it's more evidence-based or my research.
Yes.
And with the introduction of this horizontal project, how many horizontal projects ila-launch?
Ang commitment sa atin ng private sector is around 250,000. Pero we're assuming na around 180,000 can be produced until 2028. Then Pag-ibig also has a program for developers who want to do rental housing facilities. Meron tayong 3% dev loan for this program.
So those private, so pwede nang, for example, gusto kong magpatayo ng housing units pero paupa lang. There's a facility for that.
There's a dev loan facility in Pag-ibig, 3%. Although there's a ceiling of around 3,500 rental ceiling per unit.
3,500. That's pwede na yun.
Pwede na.
That's for Metro Manila, that's very competitive.
There are developers po kasi na ayaw ibenta yung lupa nila,
Yes,
but they want income.
How is the take-up of that, Secretary? Or
We have listed around, may interested na po tayong developers, around 8,000 units po.
like sa Valenzuela, kasi ano kami, we're an industrial town. So marami kaming mga workers, mga manggagawa namin comes from the other provinces. So umiikot lang sila, no? So marami sa amin nagpapaupa. In fact, ang upa is around ganyan, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 depending on the location. So kung mayroong facility for them to build more rental units from that facility, maganda yon for cities like us. At least yung mga entrepreneurs, kahit na nakatiwangwang lang yung lupa nila, gawa nilang sila ng paupa. At least may cash flow. Kaysa bayad sila ng bayad ng amilyar, walang cash flow.
Kita natin, Mr. Chair, yung demand doon. Kaya nag-create ang Pag-ibig ng facility.
Yeah, that's a very good
3%
facility.
dev loan facility.
Yeah. And may subsidy ba doon sa paupa or wala na?
Yung interest na yun kasi 6.5% din dapat yung dev loan. So nag 3%, kalahati na lang yung binigay ng Pag-ibig. Ang effect nun, mababa yung renta.
Yes, to the developer na yun.
To
ano?
the developer.
To the developer.
Then may
na.
ceiling tayo sa rental.
May ceiling, yung 3,000 ceiling. That's a good program. Good program. Siguro one of these days, hingi kami ng update on that program. I think, ako kasi, nakita nyo naman sa Valenzuela, and I was talking to Press Laksa about this. Ang model sinundan namin sa Valenzuela, yung public rental housing.
Yes.
Kasi, nung after Undoy, nagtatayo kami ng, i-relocate na namin yung mga nasa danger zones. Ako personally, I went to, hindi yung pinakamagagandang housing program, pinakapangit na housing program sa buong Pilipinas. And pinuntahan ko yung Vitas, pinuntahan ko yung GK na project na nagkagulo-gulo na. And one of the things na natutunan namin, once you introduce tenure, naaabuso. I'm not saying all, but naaabuso siya. So, nangyari, bibigyan mo ng tenure, bebenta naman yung rights. In rights, in Metro Manila can range from 200,000 all the way to 500,000. Pag binigay mo na yung rights, yung bago, hindi mo naman mapaalis, kawawa naman. So, and then it perpetuates itself Paikot lang siya ng paikot. No, so that's why in Valenzuela sinundan nilang namin yung public rental housing para we have certain level of control on who will stay in the housing facility. Dahil kung nabentahan ng rights drug addict, problema ka na naman. Kung nabentahan kriminal, hindi mo naman mapapalis kasi binili niya ng 500,000, patayan na 'yon. Diba? So that's what we followed, and I'm very happy to hear na meron ng ganun na product ngayon ang Pag-ibig. No? So laking bagay 'yon. Laking bagay. I'll go to another important program, Secretary. Ito yung Integrated Disaster Shelter Assistance Program. Actually, tinext ako ni Secretary Rex about this kasi I think you guys are nagpartner yata kayo in
Yes.
ito sa mga nangyari. And I support this. In fact, yun ang unang tanong ko nga sa kanya, paano yung mga nasiraan ng bahay? What support do we give them? And yeah.
Mr. Chair, actually, ITSAP is rental, cash assistance, no? 10,000 for partially damaged, then 30,000 for fully damaged. ITSAP is not used for production. So, cash assistance po talaga to. Unfortunately, for this year, may budget tayo na around 550 million. Pero ang actual na kailangan for this year, umaabot ng over 3 billion Kasi sa dami ng mga nangyari this year, kinapos yung 550 na for this year. That's the
Secretary, is cash binibigay nyo?
cash.
Wala kayong, let's say, pinapatayong ano?
Wala.
It's just,
ITSAP is purely cash assistance.
How do you assure that the cash goes to housing materials? Kasi the philosophy here, diba, is it goes to pangbili ng bubong or pangbili ng pader.
Well,
Or
wala
bahala na sila?
Bahala na sila. Basta yun yung tulong ng housing department.
Kasi yan ang challenge. Kasi kung tayo naman bibili ng yero, napakahirap naman yun. No? In logistics ng yero is another issue.
Although we're trying also for Masbate, itong recent na Masbate and Cebu, we're sending construction materials. Pero not from IDSAP.
So ang requirement ninyo for
Basing it from Mr. Chair, itong 2025 na nasa 3 billion, then may 3 months pa. Ang request namin is medyo malaki, 4 billion for next year. We're just basing it on the data we got from this year.
pero ang NEP ninyo is 412.
Yes.
So malaki. Pag ganito, can you tap into the NDRMC fund?
Yes, pero
Agawan yan, no?
Agawan eh. Hindi
Agawan
rin kami nakakakuha masyado ron.
Gawan yan eh. And then typically binibigay ito to strict
Typhoon
area.
and earthquake,
Oo.
usually.
Okay, all right. Itong mga itong example nyo kanina na ito yung mga damages na nangyari. Partially damaged, totally damaged. Ito kasama na dito yung in 2 lindol tsaka 1 bagyo. Tama? O lahat-lahat na ito, no?
Kasama na po, but the number that we have today does not include pa yung mga bagong lindol like yung sa Davao.
Sa Davao.
Hindi
no?
pa po namin naisama.
Yeah. So ang requirement ninyo is 199, close to 200 million.
Ang budget po last year was 200. This year we were allocated 550. Pero next year binababo to 400 lang po yung 550 natin.
Yeah, nakita ko nga siya. But
Opo.
for this year, for 2025, as of October,
Naka 200 na po kami. And then
ito
last
yun?
week, opo.
Is the one?
And then they released 350 just last week po sa amin.
Pero hindi pa tuto yung request. Ito lang yung nabayaran dahil sa 200 million na initial na dinownload sa amin.
Magkano pa ang natitira for 2025?
We just got 350 released last week po.
Of your 500?
Opo, of the 550.
Of
But the existing request right now, yung talagang natanggap na ng region namin, 1 billion na po.
1 billion na.
Kulang.
Opo.
So may utang na kayo na
Opo.
500?
Opo. So we actually also wrote the DBM and pinag-usapan po kung makahingi kami dun sa contingency fund
Yeah.
ng presidente. But for this year lang po. So next year, nag-request po kami ng mas malaki kasi yun po, based on today's experience, this year's experience, kukulangin yung 400 that's allocated for next year.
Alright. Doon ko na lang kunin sa 4PH. Kayo na lang maglibre ng 2%. No, para may pwede kong ilipat-lipat. No. Yung itong mga partially damaged, totally damaged, is it DSUD who inspects and determines kung partially damaged or ano siya? Or fully
Mr.
damaged?
Chair, kami po nagva-validate but this morning dun sa meeting po namin ng National Interagency Coordinating Council, nag-agree na po kami na tutulong ang DSWD, ang local government, DILG, DPWH. Kasi pag kami lang po hindi kakayanin, mas mahaba po yung backlog given the amount of houses that were damaged. So this morning may agreement na po na tutulong yung ibang agencies
Okay.
pa-accelerate yung validation.
Okay. Kasi meron na ba kayong, do you have regional offices already?
We have regional offices but depende po like in the case of Bicol which habitually gets typhoon, mas malaki po yung request for assistance in that area. In some other regions naman like those in region 4B like Palawan, wala naman silang earthquake o walang ganun. So hindi po pare-pareho yung number of requests, depende po sa lugar.
Okay.
Mr.
Alright.
Chair.
Sige, we'll try to, so that's one of the, later on we'll talk about the wish list, hindi nyo yata na-present, which, sige, we can talk about that. Kung meron kayong wish list na.
So Mr. Chair, ito po yung request. Una yung sa kakulangan sa pagpapatayo ng bahay, yung NHA, kung pwede pong ma-increase to 10 billion, nabigay po sa kanila is 2.2 and then sa SHAPC to 500 million from 166 million. Yung second po, ito yung IDSAP. Na-compute po namin yung 4 billion based on this year's numbers, no? And then what we're also suggesting, kasi yung bagong batas na ng NHA, nagtayo po ng Disaster and Emergency Response Office, which was not in their old charter. So what we're suggesting, kung pwedeng i-consolidate yung IDSAP funds ng DSUD dun sa NHA so that there will be easier single shelter emergency assistance fund. Also, very extensive po yung network ng offices ng NHA. So mabilis po nilang madidisburse yung funds available. The last po, wala pong quick response fund po tayo. Right now, ang ginagamit po natin yung sa escrow natin lang para mapabilis yung pag-deliver natin. So nagre-request po kami ng quick response fund of 500 million also for NHA, given that they have their charter already allows them to do that. Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Talking about quick response sa kay IDSAP, merong COA report na may issue yata on validation, incomplete documentation, and unverified beneficiaries of IDSAP and the NDRRM funds.
That was
Yeah.
actually a special item in Cordillera Autonomous Region. At that time, wala pong separate pondo. Humingi po ang DSUD sa NDRRMC. So nag-allocate po sila ng pondo sa Cordillera Autonomous Region. No? So based on that, there were a few cases, less than 10 naman yon na cases na validate. Some were
Yeah.
claiming na bayaran pero hindi daw nila natanggap. But eventually they were validated na meron namang
That's the reason why I asked him validation, importante kasi kung ako yung nasiraan, I will always claim fully damaged or complete damage, diba? And this is where the debate comes in. Partially damaged ka ba? Complete damage ka ba? Malaking ano yan eh. In fact, nung mayor ako, pag nasusunog, yan parating away eh. Kung fully damaged ka o hindi ka fully damaged, kung ikaw ba yung owner or renter ka, yan yung mga issues on the ground when you do validation. That's why I ask kung meron kayong machinery or meron kayong offices to do the validation. Yeah.
we do, Mr. Chair, but as shared with you earlier, we've already seek the help of the interagency to allow us to fast track yung validation. Just this morning, there were reports nga tulad dun sa Davao, some selected barangays bloated po yung number of damages compare sa natatanggap ng NDRMC numbers. So yun, pag nangyari yan, binavalidate po namin bakit nag-bloat yung number. So that's part of the validation process that we're doing.
I was going to say sana na kung sapat yung pondo to cover the housing backlog. Obviously, we're just addressing at least portion of the backlog. No, it's really a function of funds. Really function funds, and that's why yung introduction ng mga iba-ibang products at iba-ibang method modalities, maganda rin yun para at least ma-target natin iba-ibang income classes, no? Especially the poor, no? Yan ang importante. May mga kababayan tayo nakatira sa ISF for generations no? So minsan 2 generation, 3 generations na, and sila rin yung prone to crime dahil in environment nila obviously hindi ganun kaayos, prone to fire and then calamities. So sila dapat mabigyan natin ng priority, no? So I'm happy that nakita ko na tweak yung program. Although yung 700 di talaga pupunta sa kanila, but at least kasali na sila doon sa CMP2 and the other programs na ngayon ko lang nalaman na na-hold, no? Ngayon na binalik na yung programs na yun, you know? Are there any other programs to hit the marginalized, Secretary, other than those four
Well,
that you identified?
Basically, all the modalities na nakalista na doon eh. So, it's a matter of ano lang talaga, fund to implement these programs.
I'll go to some of the attached agencies. Ito na ba, nakwentuhan namin ni Press kanina, yung Human Settlements Adjudication Commission.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Nakita ko dito sa data namin na almost 500 cases on the average
Yes,
are
sir.
from homeowners association.
Yes, sir.
Ako may solution ako dyan. Mag-jack and poy na lang sila. Nung mayor ako, yan rin ang pinaka-problema ko parati.
Wish we could, sir.
Diba?
Yes,
And then, actually, the first line of defense parati niyan, kapitan. Pinupuntahan nila yung kapitan. Pag hindi ma-solve, pupuntahan si mayor.
Yes,
Pag
sir.
hindi mapuntahan si mayor, sa inyo na pupunta.
Yes, sir.
Kaya ako, nung mayor ako, I always tell them, mag-jack and poy na lang kayo kung sino presidente. No, but I saw that in the data na ganito para karami ang homeowners disputes all over the country.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And it's not just, well, because of the existence of several subdivisions already. So nag-increase din yung disputes that may arise between well, some of the homeowners and yung mga those that file a complaint against the members of the existing board. Iba-iba yung nature of cases, sir, nila eh.
So right now, can you give us a snapshot? How many cases are pending? How many cases are being filed? How many cases are pending? Itong record namin, this is only for homeowners. For 2025, ang na-file is 224, na-disposed is 250, and then pending, tama ba? 524?
Sir, for 2025, our existing cases right now is 462. And this is for real estate cases. But for HOA, we have 359.
359.
And we have disposed of about 218.
So ilan nilang po ang pending?
Our target is actually 60% of the total cases that are ripe for decision. And by that, it means, sir, that it is already submitted for decision. Because we cannot really determine the amount of time that will be consumed from the time the complaint is filed and up to that time the case is submitted for decision. So the target of 60% is really based on those that are ripe for decision already. And we have achieved at least the 61% already. Out of the 359, we have closed up to 218.
What is the
Half of the year at least.
disposition rate ng cases? Meaning how the amount of cases coming in and the amount of cases coming out. Do you measure it that way? Sa judiciary, that's how they measure it. But in your case,
Average disposition rate, sir, from 2022 to 2024, it's actually 74%.
74%.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in other words, in simple terms, 74% of the cases coming in, nadidispose within
We try at least.
within a certain period.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then in the real estate management, we'll flash the slide. Tama ba ho? As of 2025, 1,482 cases are pending. Actually, we got this from your office. We asked for updates. Tama ba? Tama ang ano. And the disposition rates for real estate, I'm sure mas mabagal to. No? Kasi mas complicated yung mga real estate eh. %70 rin. Okay. Okay, that's good. is there a way to, parang NLRC, is there a way to deputize the LGUs? Kausap namin kasi NLRC, di ba meron tripartite council
Yes.
for labor cases, industrial cases, and that's to unclog yung NLRC with labor cases. Maybe a concept that you can think of. Kasi yung mga, to be honest, nung mayor ako ho, marami talagang away ng homeowners.
Yes,
Na
sir.
from informal to, hindi ko nga alam bakit nag-aaway sila para maging presidente. No? I really don't understand. From
Yes, sir.
informal to subdivision. And we try to mediate at our own level. No? Mini-mediate namin at our own level. Sometimes, I remember there was one time, yung City Hall naging COMELEC, and nagkaroon sila ng re-election kasi it was an election issue. No?
Yes, sir.
Tandaan ko pa ngayon, sino ba ang bona fide member? Yung mga nagbabayad ba o yung may-ari ng lupa? Naabutan ko lahat to yun eh. No? So is there a way to deputize, let's say, the LGU, just like what NLRC is doing? Para at the para hindi na, para ma-unclog rin kayo, 'di ba? Yung mga maliliit na cases na ganun.
Yes, sir. However, the law kasi mandates HSAC to adjudicate kasi. It's
All?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
If at all, what we can do is to coordinate with the LGU, ask for the issuance of a resolution of the City Council to help us in terms of execution. And there are times, as you mentioned, election cases. And in election cases, if we can help or we can ask the LGU to assist us in terms of holding election, that's on
Yes.
execution. It can be done po, sir.
Okay.
But on
Kasi,
execution, but not on in terms of adjudication because that has been...
ano lang, for mediation lang. 'Di ba? For example, if both parties agrees to hold a re-election and the LGU is the COMELEC or observer, para lang unbiased, 'di ba? Nagawa namin 'yun eh. I think a few cases, no.
Well, the option
mahirap pa, it's not but araw-araw kasi nandun na kami. So araw-araw pumupunta sila. So that was the solution that we
Yeah.
proposed.
The option, sir, is always with the with the complainants or the homeowners. No, they have the option to go to the LGU to ask for assistance, and then they have the option also to file in HSAC, and that's where we enter the picture as a quasi adjudicatory body to entertain complaints that may be filed before our regional offices.
Were there an instance where LGUs had any formal parang formal engagement with HSAC in terms of
Execution, sir?
execution or mediation?
Not that I know
Not formal,
of,
no?
Not
Not
that
I'm
formal,
just
sir.
na pinuntahan kasi kami ng NLRC, and Valenzuela kasi we have a very active yung TIPC, Tripartite Industrial Peace Council.
Because you have an industrial industry
Oh,
in
yeah.
Valenzuela.
So, and they were very happy because we basically the TIPC is the one first line of defense
Yes,
to
sir.
prevent mga strikes, prevent industrial conflict.
Yes, sir.
If the TIPC cannot handle it, tsaka umaakyat sa NLRC. So I'm thinking of the same model for HSAC since a lot of these homeowners talagang LGU ang pinupuntahan nila eh.
Are very emotional, in fact.
Very, very.
Yes, sir.
I've seen that. I've seen that firsthand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We
In
also...
fact, umaabot pa minsan sa patayan.
Yes, sir.
Meron kaming cases na ganun.
It's unfortunate.
3 cases na ganun. Yeah.
Yeah. But the option remains with the complainant, sir, if they will file in HSAC or sometimes in DSUD or in the LGU, at least at the initial stage, the LGU can assist. But if the parties will opt to file in HSAC, it will be through the regional arbitration branches.
So it's something to think about lang, no? So that we can, as much as possible, if we can unclog the HSAC, mas maganda yun. No?
Yes, sir. But I think it will also need legislation,
Legislation,
po kasi
yeah.
right now the mandate is really on HSAC.
Okay. Hindi ko nakita yon nung dinidiscuss in law. But I understand that the SUD can also adjudicate. Tama ba?
Sir,
There's also a power.
the role of HSAC kasi is the quasi-adjudication role has been granted to HSAC in the creation of 11201. regulation was granted to DSUD while adjudication was given to HSAC.
Election.
It includes election cases as well for HOAS, yes.
Okay. So,
And the first stage of adjudication, sir, is really conciliation. So it's really the mandate of HSAC. From the time conciliation sets in, it's the first stage of adjudication.
how do you define the role of DSUD and HSAC?
When the law 11201 was created, the regulation part was granted to DSUD and the adjudication part was granted to HSAC.
So kung may mga homeowner disputes, it's really HSAC that
The primary agency, sir, that will
okay.
be tasked to handle the adjudication.
There was an instance, I think, in Multinational Village where there's a different decision from HSAC and then a different intervention from DSUD. I think, if I'm not mistaken, here, HSAC disqualified the 2019 board and ordered new elections, but DSUD later reinstated the same officials and allowed them to oversee the 2024 elections.
Miss,
There was a decision rendered by HSAC and because we have limited sheriffs to handle the execution, we asked DSUD to assist us in the execution and conduct the election, to oversee the election.
Pero parang in this case, iba yung HSAC removed the board but DSUD reinstalled the same board that you removed. In Multinational Village,
Unfortunately, sir, I was not,
privy to that.
yes, sir. It
Okay.
happened last year.
Yeah, Secretary.
Yes,
I'm just trying to understand the delineation of responsibilities.
Tama po yun. May mga cases na magkaiba yung desisyon ng DSUD sa HSAC. Kaya we're trying to harmonize para magkaintindihan, para isa lang yung basis ng mga desisyon. So we're in the process of hopefully if both DSUD and HSAC will agree, we have to really sit down and start the discussions of the TWG for harmonization. So talagang kailangan of course prior to my appointment, marami talagang cases na ganun po, hindi lang yung multinational.
But in the case of multinational, ang pumasok doon is your regulatory powers.
in the
Tama
case
ba?
of multinational, Mr. Chairman, there was a decision from HSAC. That decision was appealed to the Court of Appeals. It was reversed, and that decision of the Court of Appeals was affirmed by the Supreme Court. So in the exercise of regulatory powers of DSUD, we conducted election in multinational using the final and executory judgment of the Supreme Court. So there is technically no conflict in the decision between HSAC and DSUD insofar as multinational is concerned because we did not decide. We just exercise our regulatory powers to once and for all settle the issues concerning the community of the multinational.
Acted on the decision of the Supreme Court in this particular
Yes,
case.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, all right. And one good thing is based on data, 90% ng decisions ng HSAC is
Our
affirmed
affirmance rate, sir, is very high. It's
affirmed by the CA,
96%.
except for multinational. No, I think yun in 10%.
Well,
In 10% na na-reverse,
based on
pero
our
90% panalo naman.
yeah,
Oo.
based on our record, sir, we have a very high affirmance rate.
Oo, that's very good. Itong multinational kasi mayayaman yan eh. No? Kaya pwede i-appeal. Siguro yung mga ISF, pag anong sinabi ng HAC, yun na yun. Diba? So, but that's it's good to hear that the 90% are being affirmed by
96%.
96%.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'll go to NHA. Okay. And then okay. Sa NHA, there's a 2.2 billion subsidy, GM, no, na ibibigay.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And then you mentioned earlier the 2.2 subsidy will go to
1 billion is for housing for the SC Mandamus and 1 billion is for calamity housing. Then the 200 million is part of our emergency housing assistance program, wherein we also give financial assistance similar to INSAB, Mr. Chair.
Actually, that's what I wanted to ask. No? Anong difference nung ni IDSAP and yung emergency housing program? Kasi dito, which 200 million for emergency housing program, for the emergency housing assistance program, EHAP, which provides immediate housing assistance in the form of cash aid to victims of calamities to facilitate prompt recovery and shelter construction.
Actually,
Pareho eh.
Mr. Chair, it's a similar program wherein we give financial assistance to man-made or natural calamities doon sa mga tinamaan po ng earthquake, bagyo, fire. We also harmonize with the SHUD on a similar na po kami wherein we give 10,000 pesos for those partially damaged and 30,000 pesos for those totally damaged houses.
That's why, Mr. Chair, in our wish list, kasama yun na we are requesting na yung IDSAP for 2026 sa NHA natin ilagay para ma-consolidate na yung EHAP saka IDSAP.
The move of the department is to put it under NHA.
NHA.
Bakit NHA? Hindi
Mas
DCU?
yung organization nila mas malawak sila nationwide. And nasa charter din nila dun sa bagong charter nila. And then kami kasi more on regulatory talaga yung
Yung
training
policy,
ng
no?
tao namin eh.
Policy
So,
making and
yes.
regulatory. Planning, policy
Yes.
making, regulatory. So
For-
ang execution,
NHA.
yan ang direction ng
Yes.
okay.
For
Alright.
the information din po of Mr. Chair, we started the EHAP program since 2013 pa po. So it's a regular program po of the National Housing Authority.
And then I'll ask this to all of the attached key shelter agencies. I was reviewing your balance sheet and income statement, and yung mga key shelter agencies, they're quite big. Like for example, sa NHA, assets of about 26 billion. Yung mga ibang key shelter agencies, malalaki rin sila, no? Billions rin yung kanilang assets, and lahat kumikita. No? All the key shelter agencies are turning a profit before subsidy. No? So, ang tanong ko, bakit pa pumupunta dito para humingi ng subsidy? Magagaling naman tong mga key shelter agencies natin, Secretary.
Yeah, I think
diba?
each
Dapat I'm sure ayaw nyo na kami makita dito, mga politiko. Diba? Kung kaya nyo na ma-finance sarili nyo, mas maganda yon.
But sa laki po kasi ng requirement, especially sa production, no, because of the backlog, we really need infusion from the national government.
Like for example, dito sa socialized housing finance is 45 billion ang assets. Net worth is about 12 billion. And then profit before subsidy is about 195 million. So lahat magagandang performance eh. And I'm saying this because I really commend the key shelter agencies for being managed quite well, no. So ang ano ko, kung maganda naman yung cash flow, kaya naman ng internally generated, why come to Congress and the Senate to ask for more subsidies? No? Hindi ba kaya ng internally generated corporate operating budget natin to, yung
The
sarili
head
corporate
of the
funds?
agencies will explain, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Ito yung apat na agencies, socialized housing, NHA, mutual home development fund, and yung yes. Yun. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, for the part of National Housing Authority, we only have a minimal income of 36 million, and majority of the, if not karamihan po ng housing projects of the NHA, some of these are grant. In fact, Yolanda Housing, Marawi Housing, wherein we don't recover this, and we only get our MOE from our corporate generated revenue. So we really need an NG subsidy to produce these houses, especially if it's by grant, Mr. Chair.
Projected profit for 2026 is 66 million
Yes, Mr.
before
Chair.
subsidy. No? And then I saw in your income statement, yung business income ninyo, the revenues largely come from business income.
Yes, commercial properties, Mr. Chair.
Okay, which you lease out. What
Yes,
are
sir.
these commercial properties?
One of this, the biggest of this is one in Vertis North with the Ayala. It's a JV with the Ayala Corp. So we get this business revenue to pay for our PS and MOE, Mr. Chair.
Ang inyong assets actually is 207 billion.
Yes,
But
Mr. Chair.
marami dito mga bahay, no? Bahay.
Actually, majority of this would be commercial lots which are being used also with other government agencies. Yung mga offices or regional offices ng mga ibang other agencies where we just lent the lot for use of rock. But it's still in our book. It's still in our books as asset, Mr. Chair.
Hindi ba pwede nila bilhin nilang yun? To generate.
Mr. Chair, marami pong agency ang may utang sa amin. Hindi pa po sila pagbayad till now.
Dapat eject nyo na lang.
Kalista
para,
na lang po, Mr. Chair.
if they can, one pocket to the other pocket lang naman yun. No? But if you can generate revenue from them, at least makakatipid tayo on the subsidy. But yun na nga, no? These are all government agencies. So ito yung mga regional, I would assume ito yung mga regional
In
centers.
fact, there are like PDEA owes us about 1 billion. Yung,
Because of their property in office sila.
Yung main office nila is our property po.
Okay. And they don't pay rent.
They don't pay.
You don't pay rent. So
Yeah.
ano sila parang
Parang
staff ko ISF. Pero PDEA naman yun. Nakakatulong naman sa atin yun.
Yes.
No? Importante naman sila.
there are lots, especially in Quezon City, Mr. Chair.
Because of the property there.
Yeah,
no?
because majority of the property in Quezon City Circle and East Avenue is owned by the NHA.
Okay. Yung next year ang corporate funds nyo, you plan to use 27 billion for your corporate funds. And this 27 billion mostly will go into may 6 billion will go into developmental programs. Developmental program and service related. So, ito ba yung mga production of houses?
I'm not sure which.
Dito sa ano nyo, sa next year your operating budget, your COB is 29 billion. 6 billion will go into 6 billion will go into a program called Developmental Program, Service Related.
This will be part of our housing project, Mr. Chair.
Ito yung mga housing projects ninyo.
Yes.
And then how many units are we going to produce with that production to of houses? Itong 6 billion.
This is including prior year's budget po, Mr. Chair, and including this year's budget of 2.2 billion. The 6 billion will generate around 6 to 7,000 housing units.
6 to 7. And mostly these are low income, no? Ang NHA yan talagang target niya.
Resettlement housing, Mr. Chair.
Resettlement housing. Okay.
Resettlement.
Saan itong mga resettlement housing? Itong 6 to 7,000?
This would be in Caloocan, Navotas, Valenzuela, in Region 4, Mr. Chair, Cavite, and Laguna.
So meron na siyang pupuntahan.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Actually, itong 6 billion to, if you compare this to the total housing requirement, di siya ganun kalaki. We're
It's
talking about
minimal.
only 7,000 units. So, but kanina, ang ating estimate is about 1.3 million requirement. So, malayo pa tayo. Layo pa. Just submit to us itong breakdown nung 6.7 billion worth of housing units. Submit to us the locations.
We will submit, Mr. Chair.
Meron lang kami kasi yung gagamitin ng 2.2 eh.
In fact, Mr. Chair, our Tier 1, which are ongoing project, is amounting to almost 32 billion. But since 2.2 lang po yung nabibigay sa GAA, we just budget it accordingly kung ano po yung mabilis matapos.
Yeah, yung sa 2.2, yan pupunta yan sa Imandamos, sa Manila Bay. And then yung housing assistance program for calamity victims.
And the Comprehensive and Integrated Housing Program.
Itong housing assistance program for calamity victims, iba pa ito sa IHAP.
This is housing po, calamity housing. This is permanent housing for those affected by calamities.
Nasa net ba siya? This is the 2.2. 2 billion. Okay. Alright. Sige. Ano sa yung calamity? Ito sa Camarines Sur. Itong housing assistance program for calamity na 1 billion, iba pa siya sa IHAP? It's
This is construction of housing units, Mr. Chair.
okay. Where is it located?
I think these are yung Typhoon Pablo and Typhoon Odette pa po before. So, Kamsur area, Tigaon, and Tabaco area.
Construction to, actual construction
Construction.
na siya. Okay. And kayo may NHA owns the land or who owns the land in this case?
The others are LGU owned, but the
Okay.
others, it's package po kasi ng house and lot.
Okay.
So, we bid out house and lot na po.
Itong mga kagaya itong sa housing assistance program for calamity, these are purely grant to. Walang walang amortization.
Wala po.
So,
Case to case po, depende po sa, if we have a presidential directive that it will be grant, it will be a grant.
okay.
But if not, some are recoverable.
Okay. Ito yung binabayad nila at magkano na nga? 200, 300?
This around 800 pesos.
800 pesos a month. Tumaas na. Dati 200 lang yun eh. And then just submit to us nilang yung yung sa itong 6,000 to 7,000 housing units.
We will submit, Mr. Chair, all our ongoing projects.
Sige, para we have a list and para meron kaming inventory no. And then I'll go to social housing finance kay President Laksa.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I saw that merong actually may subsidy na 166 million. Actually maliit lang compared
Yes.
to your size
Yes.
compared to your size. Kailangan pa ba ito? Kailangan
Yes,
niyo ba pa ito?
yes, Mr. Chair. You might be referring to our COB, Corporate Operating Budget,
Yeah,
for
13.
2025, which is about 13.6 billion.
Mm.
But the fund source of this program, which is at 13.6, consists of CMP, HDH, and also our other special resettlement programs that are being funded by other agencies like DOTR, Intramuros Administration, and years ago, the Marawi, for the Marawi rehabilitation. But basically, for the CMP program, it will be solely funded through our GAA. Although we have collections amounting to about 1.4 billion a year, which should be around 1.5 billion this year, considering that we exerted a lot of effort in improving our collection efficiency, Mr. Chair. It will not be enough to cover both our operating expenses and also our requirements for the CMP program.
Yeah. One of your flagship programs in CMP.
Mr. Chair.
Restaurants, and yung CMP can be off-site and on-site, diba?
That's
Yeah.
There are two types, Mr. Chair. One is an on-site CMP and an on-site and off-site CMP. An on-site CMP are those already occupying certain land, and we assist them by financing the acquisition of their land. Recently, through the directive of our secretary, we enhanced the CMP to include site upgrading, considering that the main criticism on the CMP project for the past many years is that we only assist them in acquiring the land and they remain blighted for years. So we incorporated the additional components, Mr. Chair, to include upgrading, including the improvements on their road networks, drainage system, and water and power if necessary, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, next year will be you'll be allocating 6.2 billion for community mortgage program.
Obviously, we don't have that much anymore, Mr. Chair, considering that the NEP given to us is only 166 million, of which 90 million is for CMP.
90 million lang for CMP?
Right, Mr. Chair. Fortunately, this SUD is helping us for this year just to be able to roll out the initial CMP applications that were submitted to us, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Yung 90 million will come from national government subsidy, but I think your internally generated your corporate funds will fund 6.2 billion in terms of
Yung collection po natin is only 1.5 billion a year. That includes collection from our receivables plus yung interest income natin. Yung business income natin comes mainly from the interest from these receivables from our CMP.
CMP. Kumusta yung collection natin sa CMP? How much is the collectible?
Mr. Chair, yung current accounts namin, pumapalo siya ng more than 99%. But yung cumulative, including those problematic accounts, mga about 70%, Mr. Chair.
So total, yung mga problematic is about 70%.
Unti-unti namin pong na-address na yung problem dyan sa ano. We created a special unit that will address all of these problematic accounts, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Well, one model rin, Secretary, to consider is engaging the LGUs. But not all LGUs are created equal. Iba-ibang LGUs. No? Masasabi ko lang sa amin because we take shelter and housing very seriously. In fact, we have a dedicated office for housing. And one of the things that we work with the KSAs, the key shelter agencies, is to allow the LGUs to be the collecting agent and the tawag ni Secretary Rex, tawag niya doon, property manager, parang property manager. Because yung LGU, may stake kami doon sa housing. Pag maayos yung housing, mas tahimik yung housing, mas ano yan, mas gusto natin kasi walang problema. So making sure that the housing project is paying its dues and also maintained well is also to the interest of the local government units. At napansin ko, mas takot sila magkaroon ng utang sa mayor kaysa kay President Laksa. Kasi hindi nila nakikita si President Laksa, si mayor nakikita nila araw-araw eh, no? So one of the models that I think we had an engagement with NHA and SHAPSI is to allow the local government to collect, and then pag anong na-collect, kung anong due sa SHAPSI ibigay, kung anong due sa LGU di ibigay kasi may land component para wala ring sakit ang ulo yung national agency. Mahirap mangolekta. In fact, I remember yung first Northville during that time. Iba pa yung administration. HUDSI pa at that time. Problematic talaga sila mangolekta bahay-bahay. In fact, I remember gumawa sila ng office doon at araw-araw nangongolekta sila ng 200 pesos per house. That's not the job of the national agencies anymore. Dapat ang national agencies policy na lang eh. Yung mga ganyan na bahay-bahay collection, LGUs na lang ang magtrabaho. Total, araw-araw naman nandun ang LGU. Eh, no?
Yeah. Actually, Mr. Chair, hindi lang sa CMP, we already started coordinating with some LGUs sa rental modality. So, ang concepts, itatayo yung housing dun sa property ng LGU, and then pag naitayo, it will be turned over to LGU for estate management. Sila na yung
estate management ang tawag ni Sec Rex, I remember, when he was the mayor.
Yun po yung natin, tinitingnang modality.
Kasi like sa amin, in fact, yung mga Northville projects, yung mga disiplina projects, ang gusto natin parating maayos eh. But I realize na ang tao mas natatakot at rinirespeto yung local officials kasi sila ang nandun araw-araw eh. So if there's an arrangement that will empower the local government units to do the estate management, even the collection through AMOA, I think that will be a good model para hindi rin kayo sakit ang ulo kasi
That's the intention, Mr. Chair. In fact, we have one rental facility to be started na, yung sa University of the Philippines. So ganun din, itatayo natin yung walk-up buildings, and then it will be turned over to UP, and then they will be the one to do the estate management, including collection.
Oh. And then i-remit na lang sa inyo kung anong
Actually, dito
collection.
hindi na i-remit kasi using escrow fund. So pang estate management talaga nila.
Pang ano na lang nila. Mas maganda yon, mas maganda. Yeah, but not all LGUs are created equal. I know some LGUs probably don't like the headaches, but sa amin kasi we don't like the headaches ng magulo. No, and the only way to do that is to have certain say in the estate management and collection.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct, Mr. Chair.
So I'll go to National Home Mortgage Finance. There's also a request here for 450 million. Tama?
No, that's only 400,000.
400,000. Alam niyo, yung oras niyo, mas maganda pa nasa office para pumunta kayo dito humingi ng 400,000.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sayang,
it's all right.
sayang yung executive time.
Yeah,
Oo.
we can
Kaya nga
do that.
nagkamali ako dito, parang 450, akala ko nagkamali yung staff eh.
No. Actually, our contribution of our retainer is
Bakit president kayo pupunta dito for 450,000? Dapat
I'm here to support our secretary to make sure that we're here.
yeah. I don't know if I should ask pa about 450,000, but saan magagamitin yung 450,000?
You really don't need to ask.
Oo nga, parang, oo. No, but to be honest about it, rini-review namin. There's a alam ng mga ano ito ng LBRMO, meron account called budgetary support to government corporations, and we're rationalizing because there's a lot of government corporations na maganda yung performance, no. But minsan nagtataka ko, bakit pa sila pupunta dito to ask for subsidies, no? If they can carry it on their own account. Kagaya nito, na 450,000 lang, no? Parang,
Our
parang sayang.
contribution to the treasury this year from our retained earning is 377 million from our.
Yes.
So, yes, you're right. Our EBITDA is pretty efficient.
Yeah, your profit before subsidies about 1.1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how much dividends do you remit?
Just as I just said, we contributed 377 million.
Million in
That's
dividends
right,
to
yes.
national government. All right. And so far, how many units have you financed?
For this year, we're rather slow because we are really focusing on other financial institutions instead of directly. Well, we're in the business of buying
Yeah.
mortgages so that we unfreeze mortgages which are 30 years. So we unfreeze that and we put it into, and then we put it into securities and we sell the securities to the private sector. So the private sector invests in the housing industry. Basically, that's our business model.
But how many?
So this year, we've been
But
rather
total?
slow because we've shifted our focus from purchasing directly from developers, but directly from financial institutions. Though we still continue to purchase
mortgages
from developers.
But how many in terms of number of units? How much have you? How much is in your portfolio right now? Because you buy mortgages, diba? And then may mga housing units yun eh, mga mortgage. So how many units in your inventory of mortgages?
Well, for the past 3 years, it's about only 800.
800 units.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's why we'd like to focus ourselves on the financial institutions. Like other financial institutions might give us 1,500. I think we're looking at. Yeah, if it pushes through.
Okay. And then the mortgage that you purchase are which
Socialized
Type of
and
housing.
economic.
socialized and economic
Yeah, right.
housing. Okay. And then they pay directly to you, itong mga homeowners, the owners of the units.
Yeah.
They pay directly to the National Home Mortgage.
Yeah. In the end, we take over the buyer's financing, and therefore we actually do the collection.
You do the collection.
Yeah,
Diretso
right.
na sa,
Yeah.
sa National Home Mortgage.
And
So itong 800, they pay directly to you.
right. Right.
How is the collection rate of this 800?
There are two parts of our receivables. The first part is the Unified Home Lending that was stopped in 2010, 2009, right? So that we are experiencing a very low collection rate, but since we launched our program of housing loans receivables 2009, our collection rate for those receivables are 85%. Yes.
Taas rin ha, 85%.
Yes. Yeah. But the advantage of the unified home lending, because they're pretty old real estate mortgages, like they're probably about 25 years old or maybe 30-year-old, is the value of the underlying asset there, the land, has actually increased by maybe 10 times, 20 times.
I saw here in my briefer that in 2024 and 2025, the number of units that you are buying declined.
Yes.
How come it declined for 2024, 2025?
Well, firstly, we implemented our policies strictly. And secondly, we felt that the opportunities lie in the real estate mortgages that are existing in other financial institutions rather than developers, right? So that's the reason why it's slowed down.
Okay, from here in my notes, 2,170 finance units in 2023, and then only 27 units
Correct.
in
That's correct.
2025.
Right, yeah, that's correct.
But you buy from government financial institutions
We buy from government and private sector.
and private sector.
And
Only
private.
banks. Only banks or developers as well? In-house
Uh,
financing ng developers.
Prior, it was basically developers, but now we're looking at financial institutions such government, private banks, even other financing institutions such as savings associations, right, cooperatives.
But in the past, it's only, nakita ko dito sa programs ninyo, it's mostly, for example, itong Housing Loan Receivable Purchase Program, originators, government agencies, developers, financial institutions, home financing institutions.
Yes, yes.
So these are the target. And then
Ye-
you also buy from developers. Kasi in developers, may in-house financing sila eh. You also buy from them?
If they care to sell.
Okay. I'm sure they will, no? Kasi
Uh,
parang capital na yan eh.
Sometimes they don't care to sell.
Okay. Baka yung mga mayayaman, mga Ayala, mga ganun. Pero I think yung mga...
Even in the socialized and economic housing,
really?
it turns out that the developers, there's a tendency for them to hang on to their...
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. But you have bought from developers
in the past,
in the
yes,
past?
in the
Okay,
past, in the
all right.
past.
Okay. And then in 2026, I saw here in your target is you plan to purchase around 2,219?
Yes.
That's
yes.
the target?
Yes. Currently talking to the other financial institutions, that's the kind of numbers that we're getting. We
Okay.
hope that we push through with our targets.
All right. And that will inject liquidity into...
No, yeah. Well, the
The-
concept is basically to bring in private investment into housing.
I
Instead
hear-
of, it's just like the treasury bonds. People are purchasing treasury bonds very quickly. The retail treasury bonds are very strong. We'd like to have a housing bond that's just as strong as the treasury bills.
But you have issued your housing bond. Naka-issue na kayo in the past.
Oh yes, every year. Bonds, yes. This year?
So hindi nyo na
This
kailangan
September,
talaga yung 400,000. Mag-issue na lang kayo ng bond. No? Sayang.
Yeah, this year we've issued roughly about
Pahiramin na lang kayo ni Secretary ng
1.5.
400,000.
We're targeting maybe about 2 to maybe 3 billion by the end of this year. It's heavily regulated. We talked
Yeah.
to a lot of other financial institutions to give us their okay. But if we're able to turn around rather quickly, we might reach about 2 or 2 plus billion.
What is the outstanding bond issuance right now? How much bonds have you
The total-
issued?
Roughly 10, 15, 10
Billion?
to 12. Yeah, right. Yeah. Since the time we started.
10 to 12 billion.
Yeah, right.
And then this
outstanding.
Yeah, outstanding.
Yeah,
This 10 to
right.
12 billion was used to buy all of these mortgages.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then the homeowners
Right. Yeah, right.
pay you, and then you pay the coupon of those
Yeah,
bonds.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, we're actually the Fannie Mae of the
Yeah.
Philippines. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, people have advised us, the investment bankers advise us to make a dent in the market. We should be issuing about 5 billion a year.
5 billion
sort
a year.
of. Yeah, so that's a target that we'd like to see so that these capital markets can grow. The capital markets investment in housing can grow.
How is it, Secretary, yung activity ng National Home Mortgage? How does it play into the housing strategy of DSUD? Kasi meron ng four-piece, how do I call this? Reform four-piece, expanded 4PH. Paano sila how does it connect?
Mr. Chair, they're basically provide liquidity in our market. As many of our borrowers or developers eventually will realize they could not wait until 30 years for the beneficiaries to pay them. So they need to be able to replenish that money, and HMFC are able to buy the receivables. Doon po nagkakaroon ng refresh yung funding ng mga developers to do more projects. Yun po ang tulong ng National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation.
Policy point of view, I would assume that ang DSUD ba sits as the chairman of the
Yes, Mr. Chair.
National Home Mortgage?
Yes,
Oo.
yes.
Yes.
So
Yes, our chair.
if the target is to finance 1.3 million homes, largely from informal settler communities as well as low income, yun ang dapat tina-target nilang portfolio na binibili, di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The idea is to get as many developers to do projects and then to transfer the receivables to
Yes.
National Home. So that in
But
turn,
not the upper, let's say, hindi naman receivables, let's say, ng mga upper middle, mostly. Kasi
generally
ang
they're
backlog
targeting
nandito
po socialized housing.
Socialized housing.
Socialized housing po.
Socialized and
Socialized, okay. Is this socialized housing,
socialized to economic housing.
is that considered a high-risk portfolio?
Yes, but if you blend it in the asset pool and
Do you lower the risk?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Then you lower the risks because anyway there's many accounts with
Correct.
small amounts,
Yeah.
so the risks is spread out.
But the accounts is only 2,000, tama ba? 2,000 units? Therefore, that's 2,000 accounts?
Yeah, the last issuance is 1,500 accounts, which totaled to about 1.5 billion.
But yung
Right. So
number of...
so that's roughly, let's say, 1,000 accounts spread out.
When you say accounts, yan yung may-ari ng bahay. di ba?
Yes, yes,
Oo.
yes, yes,
Oo.
yes.
So ngayon may mga 2,000 something, 2,000 plus accounts under your portfolio. Tama?
Actually, actually we have more, but right now we have 2,500 that we could still issue bonds against.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
But we actually have much, much more. About 67,000 accounts.
6 to 7,000 accounts.
Right.
Okay. Can we ask also, meron ba tayong nila? Parang annual report? Hingi na lang kami ng annual report from all the KSAs.
Oh yes, of course.
So that we can we'll have some information about your operations.
We will comply, Mr. Chair.
Secretary. Ano na lang, request also a formal letter doon sa wish list na na binanggit nyo kanina, so that it will be part of our kasi what we're doing is we collate all the wish list and then we manage where to get the funds. So, padala na lang kami ng official letter.
We will submit an official letter.
All right. Okay. I don't have any more questions. No, so there being no further questions, the budget of the Department of Housing, Settlements, and Urban Development and its attached agencies and corporations, namely HSAC, NHMFC, NHA, and SHFC, is now deemed submitted for plenary's consideration, subject to the discussion and the submission of documents requested. All right, thank you. Thank you, Secretary.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Session suspended.